Okay, void dwellers, I have a simple question for you, and be honest. How many times in your life did you read something with citations and then actually went and checked those citations? I'm willing to bet everything that the honest answers out there are somewhere between never to a few times. And that's okay, you're in the majority. It's human nature. We want to believe that if someone puts citations on something, it gives them an air of credibility, right? After all, they're not just speaking out of their asses, right? They are basing themselves on proper sources and they cite those sources. What could be more academic, more scientific? Enter Wikipedia and the modern internet age. Unfortunately, there are some out there who would use this tendency of us humans to blindly believe anything that appears to be supported by some kind of authority, and they would rely on us to not actually check that citation in order to implant false beliefs and disinformation in our minds. It's a form of manipulation. It's basically the idea that if you make a lie sound professional enough by using the right dressing, people tend to believe it. Companies do it all the time. Snake oil sellers and people like that, who would constantly tell you how their bullshit product is supported by peer review and all that. And they use techno mumbo jumbo to make it sound good. YouTubers do it all the time when they produce professionally looking videos with graphics and animation to support claims that fall on the range of questionable to outright idiotic. Wikipedia does it with the citation trick. See, from the start, there was suspicious towards Wikipedia because a free open source encyclopedia that anyone could edit? Come on, sounds like a scam, right? But I was a great supporter, to the point of actually subscribing and donating monthly. Oh yeah, I was one of those suckers. But I really believed in the ideals that they were pushing. A free source of information available to everyone. And we will all keep each other honest. If something is unbased, we put a little citation needed flag on it, right? And even the edit process, the conversation between contributors, is completely transparent and available for all to see. Sounds amazing on paper, doesn't it? Unfortunately, A, people don't work that way. And B, these days, because people don't work that way, Wikipedia has become nothing more than another tool of propaganda and disinformation. The critics were right, I was dead wrong, I don't believe the project can be maintained anymore, and I don't believe anyone should use it as a source of information. And I've been referring to it myself in my videos, and I will stop doing that. It's not a reliable source, and I will prove it to you right now. Let's look at a proper example. And I think because this example is so obvious, so amazing in its dishonesty, I think that will unite all political sides. Right wings, left wings, pro-Israelis, pro-Palestinians, Arabs, Jews. I think we can all agree my example is all that a proper encyclopedia should not be. This example has to do with the wiki page on the Sabra and Shatila massacre. To those who are unfamiliar, in 1982 there was the Israeli-Lebanon war, which was fought mainly between Israel and a terror Palestinian group called the PLO. Link in the description, by the way, to a video of mine which goes into this war and another source of disinformation in more detail. But anyway, the Lebanese Christian troops entered the Palestinian villages of Sabra and Shatila and committed a horrific massacre. Because the IDF was nearby, there were accusations ranging from saying that the IDF allowed it to happen to the IDF actually actively facilitated it. Now, this was a huge scandal in Israel. It caused massive demonstrations, and an inquiry found that the IDF did not know what the Christian troops were about to do, but was in a position to take some of the responsibility. And the Deming report made both the Chief of Staff and the Minister of Defense at the time resign. In any case, these are, in short, the known facts. But if you read about it in the wiki page, you find this. As the massacre unfolded, the IDF received reports of atrocities being committed, but did not take any action to stop it. And there's a citation, number 10. Instead, Israeli troops were stationed at the exits of the area to prevent the camp's residents from leaving, and at the request of the Lebanese forces, citation number 11, shot flares to illuminate Sabra and Shatila through the night during the massacre. Now, they make a very serious allegation here that the IDF participate directly by blocking residents from leaving. And they give a citation for it. Let's look at what the citation says. It's a quote from a book by British journalist David Hirst, a book that was published in 2010, so almost 30 years after the events. And the quote they give is this, page 157. The carnage began immediately. It was to continue without interruption till Saturday noon. Night brought no respite. The Lebanese forces liaison officer asked for illumination, and the Israelis duly obliged with flares, first from mortars, then from planes. Now, the quick ones amongst you would notice that this paragraph only claims that the IDF used flares to illuminate the area, but it does not contain anywhere the claim that the IDF soldiers were blocking the exits. So what we have here is that Wikipedia is making a horrific accusation, a very serious one, and they make it look like it's cited by a source, but when you look at the source, there's no mention of it. Regardless if you believe that's how it happened or not, that's not a proper source for it. So it seems that they just made it up, completely imaginary. But here's the thing, most people do not bother to look at the citation. They would just assume the writers of the page have a source for it. And by the way, the citation before that, number 10, which claims to support the claim that the IDF received reports of the atrocities and didn't stop them, that's another lie. The citation they use is a report, but by one Linda A. Malone, writing for a law school in the US in 1985. She was actually criticizing the results that came out of the Israeli inquiry into the massacre. She believes there weren't enough sanctions on the responsible people. A sentiment shared, by the way, by many Israelis to this very day. That's a fair judgment, but nowhere in the 60 pages of that report does it say that the IDF knew about the massacre. In fact, it actually quotes the original inquiry that found that it's more likely that the Israelis did not know what the Christian troops would do. Nor would Miss Malone be able to make such an assertion herself if she wanted to. She wasn't there. She didn't interview anyone. This was an exercise in the methodology of an official inquiry, and nothing more. And I'll leave you a link to the report in the description if you wish to read it. So, you see, outrageous claims, terrible accusation made against the IDF, and they are based on a paragraph that doesn't say what they say that it says, from a British journalist who wasn't there, who was writing about it 30 years later, and a report by an American academic who wasn't there and wasn't claiming what they say she was claiming, but writing about the methodology of the Israeli inquiry. I think we can all agree that these are not proper sources for these claims. So why are they still there? Why didn't someone flag them as wrong and remove them? Well, because the page has been locked. Like all pages related to Israel on Wikipedia. They are all now defaced, filled with disinformation and anti-Semitic propaganda, and they are all locked. Open source my ass. You can't comment, you can't recommend a change. It seems Wikipedia is not the project you thought it was all along. In truth, like many open source projects, it's an oligarchy. A few chosen ones are in power, and they let the filthy masses contribute if they choose to do so, or they lock us out if they choose not to, for our own good, of course. And wouldn't you know it, those chosen few Westerners are also anti-Semitic. Gee, what a shock! I mean, look at how they define Zionism, an ethnocultural nationalist movement that emerged in Europe in the late 19th century and aimed for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people through the colonization of Palestine. And they add the fucking lie, Zionists wanted to create a Jewish state in Palestine with as much land, as many Jews, and as few Palestinian Arabs as possible. That is so fucking stupid. I mean, it's actually funny if you know the actual fact. This is like nonsense. This is gibberish. It's gobbledygook. And they make sure to use the right trigger words like ethnocultural and colonization. Oh, colonization. Yeah, I love that the Jews are colonizing Judea. All these Native Americans, they totally colonized America. I mean, they are so fucking stupid. Oh, and by the way, their citation here is also of the same quality. Follow the trail and you will find single opinion pieces from modern people, or an out of context article from like 20 years ago, or a very much in context opinion piece from a known anti-Semite, and so on. What you won't find are definitions by the Jews who actually created and supported the movement. You won't find a definition by Herzl, the father of Zionism. Take a moment to realize how fucking racist that is. To take another culture's word and terms, change their meaning, and present them like that to the world. Like, imagine if we said, well, from now on, the word karma means eating dogs. And we would start calling people who eat dogs karmanists. And people would say, I don't hate Asian people, I just hate karmanists. How fucking racist and offensive is that? But with Jews, like I always say, up is down, right is wrong, black is white. You take a Jewish term, change its meaning, and use it against us, and everybody's fine with it. Well, here is how a proper encyclopedia, the Britannica, defines Zionism. Zionism, Jewish nationalist movement with the goal of creation and support of a Jewish national state in Palestine, the ancient homeland of the Jews. Hebrew, Eretz Israel, the land of Israel. See the difference? No political trigger words like ethnocultural, which is a recently made up word by people with a very political agenda. Or colonization, because, natives are now colonizing their own native land. Just a proper, objective definition of what exactly the fuck it is. And that's the difference. I think it's safe to say the Wikipedia experiment has failed. You open the door to everyone, but you leave a possibility of oligarchy in the hands of the creators and their special chosen few, and you get the same result over and over and over and over and over again. It always devolves into equals and those who are equal a bit more. And they create their own club, and they lock us, the filthy masses, out, and use their power to sow hate and discord wherever they see fit. And this is what has happened to Wikipedia. So if you are a believer in knowledge and real information, if you are a supporter of reason, you should stop using Wikipedia. Stop referring to it. It's not easy, I know, by fooling everyone, myself included, that their intentions are pure and that they are something they are not. They slithered into every space. Even Google delivers their pages as a first source. But we have to resist. Use a proper encyclopedia. Check sources. Check citations. Know that you are being manipulated. Because, to quote a sci-fi show from the 90s, the truth is out there, but you won't find it between the many lies of Wikipedia.